My name is Nick Aiello, and I'm representing a company called Think Productive. Think Productive is a global training company. Offices here, obviously in Canada, in the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Australia, all over the world. And all of our workshops are kind of the basis or the foundation for those is the best-selling book by my colleague and founder, Graham Alcott, How to Be a Productivity Ninja. That is my role today. I am a productivity ninja. That's what it says on my business cards, and it's amazing. And what we're going to be doing, folks, is going through and trying to gain control of your day. That's why we are here. I'm going to put my info for you in the chat in case anybody wants to reach out. Be happy to hear from you. Great. We're going to be here today, folks, for about 45 minutes. Kind of the first chunk of everything is going to be me giving a small presentation, half hour, about gaining control of your day. We're going to leave about 10 or 15 minutes open at the end for some question and answers. This is going to be kind of as best as we can, an engaging workshop. We're going to be having some polls. I'd love to hear from you in the chat. The chat is open. I'd love to hear your comments. I'm going to be posing some questions to you in the chat. If you do have a question for our Q&A at the end, please place it in the Q&A forum. So again, not in the actual chat, but in the Q&A box. That way I just don't lose them with the flow of the chat, and I can address them at the end of our day. So all right, we're going to get started, folks. Let's talk about gaining control of your day. I'm willing to bet, folks, especially in this last year, in this last 15 months, I coach and train many different people throughout the world, many different industries. And one of the common denominators that we're seeing is a lot of people are burned out. We are overwhelmed, we're getting stressed, and we're trying to make the best use of our time, but there's not enough time in our day. Let me know in the chat, is that you? Are you feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, burning the candle at both ends? Am I talking about your experience in this? Is this something you're familiar with? Yeah, we have caps and exclamation marks from Brittany. Yeah, absolutely. And again, folks, we know this last year, this last 12 months, 15 months with the pandemic, it's been really hard. Again, working from maybe a hybrid location, working from home, managing the house and everything that goes with it, with maybe schooling at home with your children, your work tasks and your work demands, and having to juggle everything. So thank you, those who did, for one, acknowledging it, because it's not easy. And we need to take the time to know that things are not as they once were. So we need to talk about how to maybe make the most of our day. How many of you, again, just over to the chat, how many of you can wish we could just have a couple more hours in the day to get things done? I always get mixed opinions on this one. Some people are like, yeah, I'd love more time in the day. And some people say, well, wait, is it more time to do more work? Because then maybe I'm not on board with that. There we go, not sure. Would be more tiring, perhaps, right. But the idea of getting more time is a myth. We're never going to get more time. Today, we have 24 hours available to us. That's it. Tomorrow, we're going to have 24 hours available to us. So the idea of getting more time is a myth. It's just never going to happen. So I'm here to say that we're going to have a bit of a paradigm shift around time management and start to focus more on attention management. I believe that there's never going to be enough hours in the day to get everything done, but I do believe there's always going to be enough time to get the most important things done. So it's again a bit of a shift. We're going to talk about attention management and how to gain control of our day that way. First, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is our Zen-like calm ninja. I Think Productive, we have about 9 different ninja characters. This is our Zen-like calm ninja. Into the chat, I'd love to hear from you. Just from seeing this image, just from hearing this title, Zen-like calm, what kind of images, what kind of thoughts, feelings come to mind when you hear the term Zen-like calm? Freedom from Susan, thank you for that. Yoga from Kelly, okay, makes sense. No stress. Yeah, absolutely. Zen-like calm, and you can keep them coming. Deep cleansing breath. Zen-like calm to us, I think productive, is all about the 3 C's. Having the ultimate confidence, the ultimate clarity, the ultimate certainty, knowing you are doing the right work at the right time. Zen-like calm is often described as being in the zone or experiencing flow. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that, but again, you're head down, you're getting your most valuable work done, the clock is ticking behind you and you're not even noticing it. You know you're doing the right work at the right time. This is where we're aspiring to go. With the rest of our time in the workshop, I'm going to talk about how to get into this zone more often, because I do think it is possible within your world of work to achieve Zen-like calm. If we're going to talk about Zen-like calm, we need to know about what the stressors are, because sometimes stress is going to come from not knowing what work we need to do or what we need to do to accomplish that work. So potential stressor. Here's where some more stressors come in, folks, is we're probably being split between what I call boss mode and worker mode. Now, boss mode is not about status or title or position, it's about mindset. We're often having to flip back and forth between boss mode and worker mode. Boss mode being that side of us that's more logical, analytical, defining our work, planning our work, organizing our work, and then on the flip side of worker mode, actually doing the work and executing. So stress is going to come when we're spending too much time flip-flopping back and forth. We're going to recommend here building in upfront thinking time, upfront boss mode time to think and define your work. So then when the executing or the doing comes time, it's much easier. Stress also happens, folks, from spending too much time in one mode and neglecting the other. If we're spending too much time in boss mode, thinking about our work, planning our work, and not enough time in worker mode and actually doing our work, that's called procrastination. On the other side, if we're spending too much time of our time in worker mode, head down, just doing things without actually thinking about what we're doing, that's called busyness. And it's different than procrastination. So again, we're going to spend most of our time today talking about how to leverage some of that boss mode, some of that upfront thinking. When it comes time to doing or executing, it's going to be much easier and we can achieve Zen-like calm all the more often. I said at the top, folks, that we are more of an attention management company than we are a time management. And there are 3 different types of attention: proactive, active, and inactive attention. Proactive attention is when we are at our mental peak, when we are at our best, when we are at our most alert. There's typically that 90-minute, 2-hour window in everyone's day when we are at our best, when we are at our mental peak, when we are getting a lot of things done, firing on all cylinders. Then we have active attention, still pretty good. We are getting things done. We're not at our mental peak, but we're getting things done. We're starting to make minor mistakes, allowing in a couple distractions, but for the most part, still pretty good. Then we have what's called inactive attention, or what I like to call zombie mode. And zombie mode, folks, is that, maybe end of the afternoon, maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock on a Friday. We've got one eye on the weekend, and we're starting to allow some more mistakes to come in. We're starting to get distracted. Our whole philosophy at Think Productive is there is always work you could and should be doing during all 3 stages of attention. Ideally, during your proactive attention, when you're at your most alert, your most creative, your attention is at its best, that's ideally when you should be catering your most important work, the work that's going to add the most impact, that has the most consequences. And active mode, still good. What are those types of tasks in your world that doesn't require your full brain capacity? Maybe they're a little habitual, maybe they're automatic at this stage, that you could still be getting good work done. And even in inactive attention, there's always work we could be doing. I know when I was training live in classroom settings, again, pre-pandemic, I would always use my inactive attention to plan GPS routes for my future sessions, for copying, for filing, all those low value tasks that I didn't really need to think about too much. I'm going to put this over to you, folks. I'm going to give you folks a little bit of poll. I would love to find out, when do you experience your peak attention typically? So a poll has just been posted. If you're unable to see the poll, I'll read it out. Maybe you could please answer in the chat. But typically, when do you experience your peak attention? The answers are early morning, late morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, evening, or late night. See that a bunch of people are already voting. Thank you for that. Got about 12 out of the 17 of you that have voted. Brilliant. More coming in. Great. Going to leave the polls open for another 3, 2. Oh, there we go. We're all in. A lot of early birds on the session today. Wonderful. All right. A lot of early birds. 9 out of the 17 that have voted, 53% say early morning is your peak attention. And then we have some late morning people as well. If one person's late afternoon, you, my friend, are the anomaly or the exception to the rule who peaks in the afternoon. Some evening people. I know, folks, I used to be involved in theater for years and restaurants for years, so I have a bit of a late night boost as well. But most of you, early morning people. Very interesting. For those early morning people, I'm going to give you folks a little bit of a bonus. I'm going to give you some content from our Ninja's Guide to Working from Home seminar. If you are in that now remote working category or even a hybrid worker working from home part-time, and you identified that early morning or even late morning as your peak attention, you have now been given the gift of time. You no longer have that morning commute, so you can start to cater and maybe start to adopt some of that attention, that prime attention to your most important, your most challenging work. I'd love to go a little bit further on this. I'd love to hear from you in the chat window. Again, give me that 2-hour window. Let's define it a little more. So when is that 2-hour window? Again, let me know AM or PM, when you are at your best, you're at your most alert. 9 to 11. Yeah, that's a common one. Yeah, a lot of 9 to 11s. It's typical. That is the one that I hear the most often. 8 to 10, a lot as well. Great. Here is my homework assignment for you folks. And I have no way of checking, so don't get too worried. I'm going to ask that you track your attention for the next 2 weeks. Track your attention for the next 2 weeks. Pay attention to those times when you are at your best, when you're at your most alert, your most attention. Pay attention to when you're starting to dip a little bit. And then pay attention to where those natural lulls are when you're in your inactive attention. If you pay attention for about those 2 weeks, you're going to have a real good indication on when your natural rhythms are, and you can start to cater some of your work to line up with your natural attention. When you notice you're starting to slip, now we have some tools at our disposal that we can use. If you notice you're starting to slip, get distracted, maybe that's the time to have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or something even better like water, almonds, grapes, something natural. Maybe that's the time when you're starting to slip a little bit. Take a little break from the screen, have a little walk around the living room or a walk around the block, a stand and stretch. Sometimes it's as simple as even changing our optics. And what I mean by that is if you've been focused this way, 90 minutes, 2 hours, sometimes even just changing your view, you get different things in your periphery. It's going to expand your attention, give you those natural little boosts again. So again, our attention is our most valuable resource, our most precious commodity, and we need to protect it. So I'm going to introduce to you another friend of mine. This is our ruthlessness ninja. And this is one of our other characters. And this ninja is our protector. A protector, again, of our most valuable resource, which is our attention. This ruthlessness ninja shares the same favorite word with most small children. If anyone has youngsters at home or nieces or nephews, you might have an idea. Take a guess in the chat. Favorite small word, favorite word of youngsters, small children. It is a small word. Any guesses? There it is. Anne-Marie, Susan, congrats. You win the prize. The word no, absolutely. Our ruthlessness ninja is going to help us to say no, sometimes to manage people's expectations of ourselves, sometimes saying no even to ourselves and saying no to some of the work that is not as valuable as other work. I know personally, folks, I used to have a really hard time saying no. It was a challenge for me. So I don't do it anymore. I don't say no. Instead, I have a button that says it for me. So anytime I need to, I think everyone needs this button. I'll send you yours in the mail, but everyone needs a no button from time to time, folks. So again, sometimes we need to say no to those low value tasks. We started our presentation today with that ticking clock. There's never going to be enough time to finish everything, but there's always time to finish the most important things. Sometimes we're starting to see people blur those definitions of that word important in that word urgent. What we've been seeing a lot from people is, this is really important. I need this done now. What should be said is, this is really important. I need this done well. So things that are important are always going to have a quality component to it. It needs to be done right. Things that are urgent have a time component to it. They need to be done usually right now. So having those definitions for ourselves might help us prioritize your own tasks. What is urgent? What is important? Sometimes they're both. Sometimes we have to put out fires, but sometimes it's important to have that definition so we can be ruthless in saying what we're going to do at what point. Sometimes, folks, we need to be ruthless with ourselves about not splitting our focus and dividing our attention. We have our friend here trying to spin many plates. I want to hear from you. Another poll about multitasking. How do you feel about multitasking? Poll has been opened. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Can't do it? Or is it a necessity? Votes are coming in. Thank you for that. All right, going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, 5 of you said it's a necessity. I have to do it. Some of you say I love multitasking. A couple said hate it. A couple said I can't do it effectively. All right, let's talk about it. I'm going to give you a little activity, folks. Our activity is ninjas do not multitask. I'm going to get you to write out this phrase, ninjas do not multitask. And then after you're done that, I want you to write the numbers 1 through 20. Simple as that. On your own paper, write out ninjas do not multitask. Write out the numbers 1 through 20. I'm going to time you. When you're completed, let me know you're done in the chat. And we're going to assign an average to the group. We're going to start right now. Melody is the fastest. Congratulations. All right, more people are finishing. Great. Seems like everyone's wrapping up now. So that was about 28 seconds for most of you. Melody was done a little earlier. We're going to call it about 23, 24 seconds on average. Well done. Now we're going to try something else, folks. Melody was multitasking. Amazing. Now we're going to try something else a little bit different. Same thing. We're going to write the same phrase. Ninjas do not multitask. We're going to write the same numbers 1 through 20, except we're going to alternate letter, number, letter, number. That looks like this. N1, I2, N3, back and forth. I'm going to time you again. And your time for this task starts now. Let me know when you're done. All right. We are at the average of what you did last time, 28 seconds. We only have 2 people done. Now a couple more. Great. Now we're over 30 seconds. All right. I think you folks see what I'm doing here. It certainly took us longer to complete this activity than it did on the previous one. And some of you, I'm willing to bet, made mistakes. Did anyone make a mistake? N1, I2, oh shoot, got to start over. So again, the myth of multitasking. There are truly only about 4% of the population that can effectively multitask. They're called supertaskers. What I mean by effectively multitask is the speed of completion or the quality of completion is not affected. For all the rest of us, either one, the other, or both are often affected when we are multitasking. This is different if we are letting one of those things be automated. So if you put in a load of laundry and then go wash the dishes, that's effective multitasking because one of those tasks are automated. We are going to highly recommend to you folks that you monotask, that you single handle all of your tasks, all of your projects. Do one thing until the point of a natural completion or a break, then move on to the next. It is very trying on our attention to be multitasking, especially on tasks that are high value. It drains that proactive attention very quickly. We know it's limited to begin with, so we don't want to put a drain on that attention. Moving on, folks, I'm going to give you a cautionary tale. I'm going to ask you to stop checking your email first thing in the morning. Some of you are saying, Ninja Nick, you're crazy. I can't do that. Let's find out. Let's hear about it. I want to know, how often do you check your email in the day? How often do you check your email? Is it once a day, 2 or 3 times a day, once an hour, multiple times per day, or it's always on? Oh, answers are flowing in, folks. Here we go. Got about 11 of you voted. Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Last one. You can do it. As expected, folks, multiple times per hour, people are checking, or it's always on. Very, very interesting. So a couple things to take away from that, folks. If your email is always on, I'm going to highly recommend to turn off all of your notifications. If you're in your inbox anyways, you don't need the pings, dings, pop-ups, alerts, pulling and robbing your attention. It's only going to take you more time to get back on track and refocus to what you're working on. Also, again, I'm going to recommend you stop checking your emails first thing in the morning. What tends to happen when you open your inbox first thing in the morning, you look like my friend here. You are responding to other people's priorities. You're responding to other people's priorities and not your own. Instead, folks, I want to recommend starting your day with momentum. Start deliberately with a Post-it note. We love Post-it notes because they're small. It forces you to think and write out the 5 things that are going to add the most value to your day. You know what? It's the pandemic still. It might be 3 things on a Post-it note, and that's okay. Before you open your email, start your day off writing down what are the things that are going to add the most value in your day. Then if you have to, open your inbox then. Something may have come up. There may have been a fire you need to put out, add it to your Post-it note. When you're starting your day working on your priorities, you can start to feel like this. Again, not on someone else's priorities. Start your day working on your most important thing. And again, we recommend single handling it or monotasking it as much as possible. Anyone hear about eat that frog? Let me know in the chat. Has anyone heard eat that frog, that expression or that saying before? Yes, big point there is not, I'm not telling you to completely ignore your email, especially if others are relying on you, but sometimes setting the table for your own agenda or what your own priorities are, or at least having that first look of what that could be before opening email, again, just sets the table for working on the most important things. We've heard a couple people from the chat say we know what we're talking about, but eat that frog. It was a Mark Twain quote, but adopted by Brian Tracy for productivity. Said, if for whatever reason you had to eat a live frog as part of your day, you should probably do it first thing in the morning. That way, you know nothing else is going to be as bad for the rest of the day. It's a weird little analogy, but I like it. And it's basically saying whatever your most challenging, your most difficult, your most valuable task is, you should probably get started on that first thing in the morning. as best as possible, single handle that, monotask that until it's done. And then you could work on some tadpoles, and then you could work on some maybe medium frogs. Sometimes factor in attention and energy. I know personally, folks, after tackling a big frog, I'm a little bit burnt out. I'm a little bit tired. So then I like to do maybe something a little smaller. I try to do one big frog in the morning, one big frog in the afternoon. We've been seeing a lot over the last few months, folks. This is a great way to also build in accountability. Maybe get a frog buddy. Talk to one of your colleagues and say, what are your big frogs this morning? What are you working on? Have them ask you, and then at a natural break, check on each other. How are your big frogs coming? Are you onto medium frogs? Are you onto tadpoles? Build in that accountability with people. Again, we've talked a little bit about being ruthless, and sometimes we need to be ruthless with ourselves. Sometimes we must get around to not procrastinating. Anyone, let me know in the chat. Anyone self-admit that you are a procrastinator? I know I am. Yeah, all right, it's good. I recommend procrastinating. Hear me out. I recommend selective procrastination. Again, that ticking clock says we can't do everything, but we always have time to do the most important things. So I think we have to procrastinate on some things. And I think that's okay if we're procrastinating on low value tasks, putting off low value tasks in the spirit of doing the more important things. Christine, I get lots done when I avoid one thing. I'm so glad you said that right now, because I want to talk about the things that we avoid. If you have things that are on your to-do list week after week, if you're avoiding them, if you're resisting them, it's typically because these things are dusty. What we mean by that is that task or that action is either difficult, it's challenging, it's hard, you don't know where to start, it's undefined, meaning I'm not exactly sure what I need to do about this. It's scary, and that usually means there's consequences attached to it, or it's tedious, it's boring, and you just don't like to do it. Here's the thing, dust is a great word because it is both a noun and a verb, and the best way to get rid of your dust is to dust. So if your tasks on your to-do list are difficult, how can you make them easier? Who has done this task or a similar task before that you could get insight from? What knowledge do you need to acquire to do this? If it's undefined, add clarity to it, meaning what do I need to do specifically for this task? Can I do this in parts? Who can I ask for more information about that? If it's scary, why? Why is it scary for you? Usually because there's consequences to it. And how do you make it less scary? Can you run a draft by a colleague? Can you get someone else's input for it? If it's tedious, how can you make it fun? Goals and games are a great way to motivate yourself and others. Can you time yourself to do your paperwork this week in 40 minutes and then next week in 30 minutes? Whatever that looks like for you. So if there's things that are on your to-do list and you know you're avoiding them, you know you're putting them off, it's usually because they're dusty and you need to dust them off. One more quick activity, folks. Let's have some fun. I'm just going to get you to draw triangles. That's it. That is my only instructions. I'm going to time you. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to draw as many triangles as you can, and then tell me your number in the chat. Your 15 seconds starts now. As many as you can. 3, 2, 1. Stop. How many did we get? Let me know in chat. How many triangles did you draw? $18, not bad. 18 is the number to beat. 23 from Kelly. 25, great. Not bad. You were professional triangle drawers. Now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to coach you a little bit. We're still going to draw triangles. I'm still going to give you 15 seconds, but I'd like for you to try to draw your triangles this way. Just keep drawing M's. Just keep drawing M's and mountain peaks. And then in those last 3 seconds, when I give you the timer, give yourself a top and bottom line, and we'll see how many we have. 15 seconds starts right now. 3, 2, 1. Count them up, folks. Let me see. You started doing that halfway into the first exercise. You're on to me. Remember, folks, there's lots of little triangles that need to count up now. What are we at? What is our records? Did you beat your score from the first one? We're seeing some similar scores. 67. Look at that output. Much, much better. 50, 70. Oh my goodness. Folks, this is just a small exercise in saying sometimes even a small change can give us big results. That's what this workshop's been. Hopefully you have something to take from this workshop to give you some of those big results. Just to give you a quick review, again, we're going to advise as best as possible not to multitask unless one thing is automated. As best as possible, try to focus on one thing until its completion or its natural break point. To stop checking your emails first thing in the morning. Sometimes I know you're tied to them for your role, but as best as possible, start your day on your priorities. What 5 or maybe even 3 things are going to add the most value. Factor in your attention levels, folks. Again, try to cater your most important work to line up with your attention, and even some self-care around this. I notice when most people's cell phone are in that red bar, they're very quick to put it on the charger. But if your own energy levels are in that red bar, sometimes we're not as quick to take self-care and maybe get ourselves a recharge, just a good night's sleep. Think about your priorities in terms of your frogs. What are your big frogs for the day, for the week? Communicate them to your team members. Work on your big frogs, or maybe try to do one big frog in the morning, one in the afternoon. You'll end your day looking like this gentleman here. Seize the day, gaining the day, winning the day. I want to first, before we go to the Q&A, folks, sorry, I got a street cleaner coming by. I want to let you know about our 6 Weeks to Ninja Masterclass. This is something I'm very proud of, folks. This is something that we've been doing. We had our first one in the spring. It sold out. It was an outrageous success. This is our 6-week masterclass where we spend about 2 hours each week going through some ninja tactics, some best practices, really talking about accountability, peer support, great for new leaders, great for senior management. Talking a lot about delegation, talking about doing your most important work, your priorities. Our next one begins in the fall, September 15th. Again, it's usually, I think this one's a Wednesday. Wednesdays 1 till 3 Eastern, 2 hours a week. You get a hard copy of the Ninja book, How to Be a Productivity Ninja. You get a support group. This is something I've been really proud of. The first one was an outrageous success. So please let me know if you're interested. And again, the best way to reach out, Nick at thinkproductivena.com. And if you enjoyed this session, folks, I'll put this in the chat, but here's how to let us know if you enjoyed this session. It's just a quick little survey. Again, I love what I do, so if I can be doing it even better, please let me know. We'd love to hear from you. What was the website again? I'll put that back up there for you. It is thinkproductivena.com. That's the code. 10% off if you use the code Ninja Nick. That's me. Here's again the code for the masterclass as the bit.ly address. Our own website again, thinkproductive.com. All right, over to you, folks. Let's hear from you. Is anyone, you can put it into the chat or to the Q&A function. We've got about 10 minutes before we wrap up for questions. Love to hear from you. Anything around attention, priority setting. Will we be getting this recording? I think this is going to be put on our YouTube channel. So yes, you can have access to it. We will send out the YouTube link to the email address you signed up for the course with. It's a great question. Thank you. Anything else, folks? I'm here to help. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us today. Oh, thank you so much, Susan. That's very kind. So your most productive time is in the morning, but you run global teams as they are TC, so I can't get any work done until afternoon. Any best ways to handle? Yeah, challenging. Taking into account, other people's schedules as well is often complex. Sometimes I always try to, because I like to push things, I try to renegotiate times. Sometimes, again, there's always firm commitments that you can't get out of. But is there any times that you can wiggle out of things, or could you be present just for your part? Could you phone in later? I always try to renegotiate commitments. That's kind of a new ninja tactic of delegating, is renegotiating your commitments. And also being mindful of, again, if your best time is in the morning, what are those natural things that you can do to boost your attention in the afternoon? Again, maybe have that break of screen time before your afternoon starts, or after you finished those TCs, or again, get some fresh air, or again, just try to have those kind of natural boosts of maybe a snack, hydration, or again, focus. If you can take even a few notes or capture some ideas from your peak attention to maybe work on a little bit later, just getting even things out of our heads sometimes is beneficial. You put 3 tips on sticky notes on your monitor so you don't forget them. You don't have anything else on your monitor. Great. Again, we love those kind of tactics of, this is what I'm working on today. That is my focus. Again, I like that you said the sticky notes, because sometimes we're just carrying too much around in our head. We have an image called Sticky Note Steve, and it's just everything that's swirling around in our head, our own appointments and deliverables, and our children's schedules and song lyrics from the 90s. So we always recommend having a second brain and doing what's called a brain download, just getting things out, whether it be on paper, whether it be, in a spreadsheet, or an app, getting things out of your head that are not done, that are going to require our attention. You feel just a lot lighter carrying less things around. And then it's also more easy to track. There's the old famous, we can only carry about 7 things around in our head at the same time, plus or minus 2, depending on your capacity. But there's usually more things than that to carry around. David Allen, who's a kind of productivity guru, says our minds are for having ideas, not for holding ideas. So sometimes just getting those things out adds a lot of clarity into what needs to be done. Any other questions, friends? Happy to stick around for a bit. Wonderful. No one else has anything? Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you around. Hopefully we'll have some live sessions again soon. I'm still keen to stick around for the 5 minutes if anyone has questions. Thank you. Oh, you're all very kind. Thank you so much. Have a great day, folks. Oh, cheers. Thank you, Christina. Appreciate that. Take care, folks.